what I notice is when we eliminate those foods or make those foods forbidden or scarce, kids tend to gravitate towards them and overindulge in them anyways. So it's better to have an overall balance where they're included occasionally. What do you do when your child eats healthy but is overweight? It can be so confusing when you see your child making healthy choices, eating healthy foods, and yet still be in a body that is larger. It can be particularly frustrating when you see other kids around your child making unhealthy choices and yet they're in a body that is smaller or leaner. In this video, I'm talking about the genetics of size and how you can help your child grow up in a healthy body, even though they may be in a larger body. Because eating healthy is only one way of helping your health be healthy. There are several other ways to support children in larger bodies and help them be as healthy as they can be. Most importantly, accepting your child, no matter their size, will go a long way towards helping them be healthy and happy. But before I begin, if you want to learn more about childhood nutrition, make sure you like this page, comment below if you have a question. I always go in and answer, and just follow this channel. Come back. It makes everybody else be able to find it as a resource too. So your child is overweight, but they eat healthy. What does that even mean? Well, let's actually break down what it means to eat healthy. If you know the food groups on my plate, they definitely map out the different food groups that are blended together to match the nutrients that your child needs to grow and develop healthfully. So foods like proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy products, or non-dairy fortified alternatives. These are sort of the range or the categories of foods that when they are placed together and your child is getting a balance of them throughout the day and variety within each of those food groups, that's going to really identify or define what it means to eat healthy. That doesn't mean your child can't have sweets or treats or junk food. They can, but the bigger balance or the bigger message is that those former foods, proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy or fortified non-dairy alternatives, those make up the lion's share of their diet. Those are the most of what they eat. And these other foods, sweets, treats, and junk food, they make up a small amount or small portion of what your child eats on a day-to-day basis. So if your child has a balance where it's mostly nutritious foods and a little bit of quote-unquote unhealthy foods, they're probably in a good space because those unhealthy foods give emotional satisfaction. They're tasty, they're everywhere. And so what I notice is when we eliminate those foods or make those foods forbidden or scarce, kids tend to gravitate towards them and overindulge in them anyways. So it's better to have an overall balance where they're included occasionally, but they don't take over the whole diet. So why are kids overweight or larger in size even when they eat healthy? Well, first off, eating healthy doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be slim and trim and fit. There is a genetic component to our size, and I want to review that with you right now. For children who are growing up in larger bodies, there is a 40 to 70% chance that this body size comes from the gene pool, meaning your child has inherited the genetic predisposition or the genetic tendency to grow up in a larger body. Science has sussed this out. The evidence is quite robust. And so it's why sometimes you look at your child and they have your Aunt Jane's hips, or they have your Grandpa Bill's belly. It's genetics. Now, height is also genetically inclined, and the science around height shows that 80% of a child's height is attributed to genetics. So, but what does this mean? 80% genetically heritable. What does this mean? 40 to 70% genetically heritable. It basically means that the flip side is if 40 to 70% is the tendency for your child to be in a larger body, that means that 30 to 60% of your child's size is attributed to the environment they grow up in and the lifestyle habits that they have. Now, the same goes with height as well. If 80% is genetically inherited, that means 20% is down to the environment. And for height, it's mostly nutrition. So what do we even mean when we say the environment? Well, we're talking about food, eating habits, feeding, sleep, screen time, physical activity. All of these things constitute the environmental conditions that your child is growing up in. And some of those conditions are influenced by what we call social determinants of health. So those are the things that you can't do much about. The conditions or the economics of your financial situation, the neighborhood you live in, the educational opportunities that were offered you, those are called social determinants of health, and they influence these environmental factors that I'm going to talk to you about. So I just talked about food and what is a healthy diet. Well, food and nutrition are one of the environmental factors that influence your child's size, whether they're larger or mid-sized or even smaller. Again, we are talking about this whole concept. There is a genetic backbone, and then there's these environmental factors that we have control over or we have an ability to modify, food being one of them. So it's no doubt you've met somebody in your life who can eat whatever they want and never gain any weight. And there are other people in your life you've probably met that every time they eat, they feel like they're gaining weight. So that is down to the genetic component of it, but it's not a throw in the towel sort of thing. Here's what you can do. Mostly offer your child nutritious foods. Offer a balance of all those food groups I talked about earlier. Make sure you're bringing variety into the diet. So don't just offer, sandwiches every day for lunch. Maybe it's a bagel, maybe it's pasta, maybe it's rice with stir fry. The variety helps bring in more nutrition, more interest, more satisfaction when it comes to your child. Most importantly, think about adding foods to your child's diet that add nutrients. So when we use a nutrient filter and we think about nutrients first, we are bound to choose foods that are going to be good for our children. The second environmental factor is movement. Every child needs to move every day. And unfortunately, many children today aren't doing that. They're sitting more than they're moving. And that hasn't been a good thing for their physical health, their body health. Here's what you can do. Encourage your child to play every day, especially if they're younger. Young children really get their movement out of play. So take them out to the backyard to play. If you can block off your driveway and create that as a safe environment, let them ride their tricycles or their movement toys. Take them to the park and let them climb on the building, the climbing equipment. Let those younger children really engage in some sort of play, and that will tap into physical activity pretty easily. For your older child, let them play too, but their play may be more formalized. They may join a sports team or play a sport. They may participate in activities outside of school that are physical. They may be getting physical activity in gym class at school. All of these are ways to get older children moving. Give them chores. Let them walk the dog. Let them go outside and pull weeds and spread mulch. All of these things are physical activity. And what we know from the research is that children do need to move their bodies every single day. Sleep is the third environmental thing that you have some ability to modify. We know that from the research that interrupted sleep and inadequate sleep can disrupt the appetite regulation system. Basically meaning that your child has a hard time recognizing when they're full and may even think that they're hungry all the time. And so what you can do is establish a regular sleep routine for your children. So regular bedtime, regular wake time, regular sort of hour lead into bedtime. All of these things can really help kids get a good night's sleep. Last, get a handle on screen time. That is probably one area in child health that is just exploding left and right. Kids are on their phones, they're playing video games, they're on their computers, they're watching TV. Screen time translates to inactivity. So lack of physical activity. It gets in the way of kids being able to move their bodies every day. Not to mention that a lot of this screen time has an emotional impact on our children, right? They go to the screens and they feel inadequate. They feel less than. And this is contributing to the rising incidence of anxiety and depression we're seeing in children today. Here's what you can do though. Make screen time a formal time on the calendar. So maybe you're allowing your child to have 20 or 30 or 45 minutes, depending on their age, with screens. Make it formal. There's a start time and there's an end time. That way you can get a handle on how much screen time they are participating in each day. So if your child is overweight and they are a healthy eater, celebrate. That is one of the environmental factors that you've succeeded with, your child's doing well with, and it's not an area that you need to really focus on. Again, when we look at eating and we make it a problem, we take a child who's eating well and likes healthy food and eats a variety of foods and we make that a problem just because of their size, that's not good for their emotional well-being. If you do have a larger child and they're a healthy eater, focus on these other environmental factors. Keep building those good habits that we know support children to become healthy no matter the size of their body. I talk about all of these habits and more in my forthcoming book called Kids Thrive at Every Size: How to Nourish Your Bigger, Smaller, or In-Between Child for a Lifetime of Health and Happiness. That is coming out in August, but the pre-sale orders are live now. I will include a link in the comments below so that if you want to go check it out, you can check it out and secure your copy. Here are my final thoughts and what I think is most important. If you do have a child with a larger body, the best thing you can do is, number one, accept them. They cannot help it that they might have inherited a gene pool that tends to make their body larger in size. What you can focus on are all the environmental lifestyle habits that encourage internal health, physical health. But don't lose sight on focusing also on your child's emotional well-being. So let me ask you, do you have questions about raising a child in a larger body? If you do, pop those down below. And let me know what else you'd like to hear or learn about on this channel. That's it for today, folks. I hope this was helpful to you. Again, make sure you like, follow, and comment below. It helps other families find this channel. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Have a great one.